Hey y'all, I'm Marielle, and this is going to be a really quick video for an intro to progressive args and LD. So I'm sure most of you have been exposed to traditional LD debate, but there's also progressive LD debate, which is becoming more and more common on the national circuit. So you can have both progressive affirmative and progressive negative arguments. So let's start in the affirmative. Affirmative, there are three types of progressive affirmatives. First is your LARP affirmative. That's typically a plain text affirmative. So you only defend a portion of the resolution. For example, on the nuclear weapons topic, defend only India and Pakistan, and then have more nuanced link-based impacts as your advantages. And these are becoming more and more common. You've probably been exposed to one before. If not, you can find one easily on the wiki. They're the most common types that are run at national circuit in AF rounds. The second type is your critical affirmative, and these can become two portions. So there's either topical critical affirmatives or non-topical critical affirmatives. Topical critical affirmatives takes a critical approach to the resolution, but you do defend the resolution. So you solve for a critical based impact through resolutional action. There's also non-topical KAPs, which are critical approaches either critiquing the resolution and rejecting the resolution, critiquing the world as a whole in society, or critiquing the debate community. So one example of this is I personally run a FemK critical affirmative that critiques the debate community and says that it's super biased against women, and therefore this should be the top priority in our debate round, not debating any resolution. And then the third type and the least common is trick AFs, which are pretty much what they sound like, just a big group of a prioris or tricks or different tricky arguments defining parts of the resolution, reasons to affirm. All of these fall under tricks, AFs. That's super confusing. Like, you won't be able to understand that easily. I recommend going and watch our T and tricks and theory video for that. Those are very uncommon though, so the likelihood of you hitting that is very low. And then there are the progressive neg arguments, and these come in about the same form, but just on neg arguments. So there's LARP negative arguments, which are your counterplans and disads, which are a more progressive link-based negative case opposed to the traditional negative case, but critiques the affirmative in the same way, gives reasons why it's bad, and then the counterplan gives an alternative solution. And then next are also the critiques on the neg, and these can either be critiquing specifically the affirmative or critiquing their participation in society or the debate space. So again, these can run the same impacts and links as a affirmative critical argument that's non-topical. They can link into just either the actual action the AF takes, the wording in the affirmative, or the presentation in the round. And then finally are your T theory and tricks. T is something unique to the negative. It's an argument that the affirmative is not defending the topic, and therefore it's the top layer of the round, and they should lose the round because they should not win if they're not defending the topic. Then there's theory, which causes for theoretical violations of the round. So for example, the affirmative being conditional. So they change their affirmative stance between the 1AC and the 1AR, and therefore you run theory saying that's super abusive and makes it hard to argue against a ever-changing position. And then there's tricks, which are the exact same as they would be on a tricks AF, just defending the resolution. So like saying, for example, the word ought in the resolution gives some reason, and that means you negate. It's something I personally don't run, and most people actually don't like. So if you're going to a national circuit tournament and don't feel comfortable with tricks, when doing your prefs, just the likelihood is you can find a good batch of judges that will say, I won't even judge tricks, and therefore the likelihood of you hitting them again is very low. So these are just all the progressive arguments. You don't have to understand them right away. We just wanted to give you a good list and basic idea. There will be videos that you can watch explaining and going into depth into each section of them. So I would recommend that if you want to learn more, go watch those. If you don't plan on running any traditional arguments, this just gives you an idea that these are arguments you could possibly hit. You probably won't if you're still going into novice, but if you're going into varsity at a national circuit tournament, the likelihood increases, so just be prepared. And if you want any answers, always and the answers to these arguments, always reach out to older debaters or coaches, and they can help you prepare to answer these arguments. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll go watch the other videos that explain these more in depth.